Hello, everybody, and welcome to Anyhow, Anyway by Summer England. I'm your podcast host, Summer England, and we talk about everything bookish, cozy, chaotic, smutty, and the chaos in between. I think I said chaos twice, and that's just how the week is going so far. It's Monday when I'm recording this, but you will hear this Thursday. Apparently, there's a comet tomorrow, but also I saw that on Facebook, and there's a very real possibility that I got duped by some third-tier stargazer app, but nevertheless, I do believe there is a comet in the sky tomorrow. So I don't know if you're supposed to make wishes on comets. That feels a little bit, it just feels wrong to me. Where I get that, I don't know. My mind is willing to be changed, but sometimes, when you're born with just things inside of your soul that you're like, well, I know this thing, and you have no idea where you know it from. That's how I feel about making a wish upon a comet. I feel like you really shouldn't, Because sometimes you don't want to seal the deal too early. And that's what it feels like. It feels final. I don't know. What? We just got so philosophical. Okay, for today's chaos, I'm starting out by letting you know that I went to a haunted house over the weekend and I had the best time. It's been, 12, 15 years since I went to a haunted house, and it definitely hits different as a smutty queen because there's just a bunch of people looking morally gray and jumping out with, chainsaws and deep voices. And I'm like, this is not so bad. Now, was I scared? Absolutely. Absolutely. Did I almost break the wrist of the person I was with? Absolutely. 100% I did. But I would go back in a heartbeat. It's such an adrenaline rush. I don't know what the psychology is behind. I cannot watch a scary movie without having somewhat of a panic attack. Scary movies work numbers on me. I am the perfect person to go watch a scary movie, no matter how bad it is, because I am going to be terrified. I'm going to be terrified. Now, there are a few movies that are categorized as horror that I didn't think were scary at all. Nosferatu, Sinners, those releases of the last year or so. I did not think any of those were scary, but I also think it's hard for me to get scared about vampires in particular. But when we get into like ghosts, demons, murderers, I'm scared. I'm sat and I'm scared. Nobody's going to be more scared than me. I watched Talk to Me, the A24 film, a few months ago at the beginning of the year. Terrified, still terrifies me every time you think about it. I really I'm scared into my bones, to my soul. So you would think that I wouldn't like horror novels, and I certainly wouldn't like haunted houses, but I do, okay? I'm terrified. I went into a corn maze, and there's something so inherently eerie about corn. You go in there and you think to yourself, aliens love drawing all in this for a reason. Okay, you can't tell me somebody out there with their John Deere was making some really intricate looking crop circles. The aliens saw that and thought to themselves, that is the scariest paper I've ever seen. Let's draw some concentric circles in there. And every time I go into a corn maze, I'm like, I'm either going to get dragged away or I'm going to get picked up by the mothership. So I just need to choose. But I would be more scared, honestly, if there were a human in there. Humans scare me so much more than other creatures, though. Toxically, I want to think that if I had like a poltergeist or demon after me, that my devotion to Howard Shore and the Shire would probably keep my soul bright enough that it burns away their entities, but that's neither here nor there, and I hope to never test that. So that is what I did, okay? And it was so fun. I'm also reading spooky books right now and having an excellent time. I began and finished Hot for Slayer by Ali Hazelwood. Oh my God, 5 out of 5. You all need to get on your novellas. You need to hop on the novella train immediately, especially Ali Hazelwood. I'm about to read Cruel Winter with you, which is another one of her novellas. And I've not read any of those yet. I can't wait. I simply cannot wait. Nobody can wait more than I. I can't wait. Do you know what I'm saying? Anyhow, I really have I've lost the grammatical structure of my thought, but my thought's still there, but how to get to it through understandable syntax, it's gone. It's past. The ship has sailed. So that's where I'm coming at you all from. And I'm about to paint my living room and my hallway because the Whimsy house is getting more whimsical. I painted the living room, sort of like this antique taupey, which is a beige brown that I mixed together because I wanted it to be sort of dark academia, maybe halfway plant shop. It just feels very dull and not dark in a good way, but dark in a bad way. Do you know what I mean? Because sometimes some colors are so intensely rich and dark that they don't feel dank, deep, dark, depressing. And then others are just sort of mid-tier. And then you're like, am I a beige mommy for having a brown living room? So of course, I have chosen a color for my living room called Secret Garden. And then the other one is called, I think, Cottage Plaster. So that's how that's going. I also ordered a new couch from Costco. Never in my adult life, well, that's not true, because I got a couch for my wedding anniversary. Never in my post-divorce life have I ever bought myself a new couch, because I can't afford them, okay? All of my couches have been $50 used off the street, free to me. And this last one is a Habitat from Humanity couch, which I love. She is so beautiful, but the springs inside of her are broken. So sometimes you sit down and you have a needle poke you and you wonder, well, I hope that didn't have tetanus in it. And I hope my shot is up to date, because every time somebody is like, do you have a tetanus shot? I'm like, I mean, I hope. What do you expect me to keep up with my vaccine records? No, I don't know. I have too much on my plate anyways. So I have a new couch, painting the living room. I'm painting my hallway. Times are chaos, times are cozy. And it's just how I like it. Now, the rest of today is going to be dedicated to the rest of your all's Q&A from last week, along with general updates and news that doesn't matter. Okay? So let's just get into it. This is from Instagram, by the way, these questions. If you could describe your ideal book boyfriend, who and what would your type be? This is really difficult for me, because I'm of two camps. One of my favorite bookish boyfriends is Charlie from Book Lovers by Emily Henry, and he is so clean, and he's a little bit mean, and they're so alike and they're so not. Oh, and he's just so lovely and sweet and cute. But then on the other end, I do love like a classic sort of Scottish lumberjack brute, man or woman, where they're just sort of like big and sweaty and undone around the edges, and then they meet sort of, whatever, and you get to see other parts of them. But I guess what it really boils down to is the exterior doesn't necessarily match the interior, because both of these exteriors, one is like prim, proper, clean, and the other one is like, oh my gosh, you fill up a room. But on the inside, they're mushy gushy. Oh, I do like that. And I love an exception. That's another one where to everyone else, it's like, I don't care about you. But with the female main character, there's a softness, there's a singularity. I love to be an exception. I love to be an exception to the rule. You know what I'm saying? So I would have to say that, but that is a bookish boyfriend or girlfriend. Okay. We are equitable in hotness here. All right. If I like you, I like you. And that's all there is to say about it. So I would say somewhere in there. Do I have a least favorite? Though my only least favorite I can think of is I'm not a big fan of Miles from Funny Story, because he's described as smelling like weed. And I'm a very smell-based person, which I think is why I like Charlie from Book Lovers so much, because Charlie is extremely clean, and it's part of the book that he smells very good, smells like soap or whatever. And anybody who smells like weed specifically, it's a no. Now, that doesn't count if they smell like sweat, salt, and blood. If we're, in the 1400s and they're a paladin and, like they're not going to smell great, but they smell like them, I'll go primal for that. That's fine. I'll go feral primal for that. Your stank's fine. It's just like, I'll be attracted to your sweat, but I don't need the weed. I do not need extracurricular herbal activities to be part of your daily smell. So that's going to be my ideal book boyfriend, and somebody smart, but also funny. Okay. I don't know. Can we get a mixture of like Jude Law and Jack Black somewhere in there? Mix them together. Thank you. Another person asks, what is my favorite type of kink scene? Okay. This is funny to be answering what my favorite type of kink scene is, because I feel like it's very damning in that. Okay, so one of my favorite types is, I guess it's slight. It's ever so slight exhibitionism. So for example, if they're a professor and they are like taking a meeting over Zoom, let's say, all right, this is a honestly, I'm explaining a scene from a book that I wrote, the romance novel about two Shakespeare professors vying for the same tenure track position. So for example, she is in the middle of like talking to somebody over a Zoom call, right? A shitty person. So it doesn't matter. Under the desk, he has decided to lay claim to her, but she can't let the person know on screen what's happening. That is the type of stuff that's some of my favorite. And it's the same thing with like any type of like slight public display of kink where, you know, the girl is sitting on the fairy king's lap and he's like, don't move a muscle, and we can't tell because her dress is so big what his fingers are doing. Ooh. And if anybody finds out, they may die. Excuse me? That's some of my favorite stuff. I don't know enough about nodding to be able to talk about it. Every time I've read it, I'm still trying to physically picture it, and I don't want to Google it because I feel like that I would like a cartoon stick figure illustration of it so that I just understand the mechanics, because right now it just feels intense. Now, this isn't what you asked, but one of my least favorites is when they talk about how long the appendage is of the male character going into the tiniest female character of all time. Like we meet her and she's 18 years old, but somehow she's been starving for 87 years and she's the strongest person ever, but she's also tiny. Like when people pick her up, they don't feel it at all. And then he unfurls his shlamalama ding dong, and it's like she's going to take the D train to Pound Town to heaven. All right? She's out of here if that were actually real. And then when we talk about the girth and it's like I could wrap 4 of my hands around it and still not meet. Okay. Well, so how is that working? Because you're not Fae yet, and you're human, and you're the skinniest person anybody's ever seen. And he has an elephant trunk. So what do you mean? And he has 500 years of experience? I don't know. So that's some of my least favorite. That is not what you asked, but it is a trope that is common that I'm not a huge fan of because it makes me feel pain. The other question is, what got me into smut? Well, I would love to answer. I can't remember if I answered this in the last episode, but if I did, you know what? Just answer along or listen along. So I contracted, I think I did answer this, but I'm going to answer it again. I contracted the novel coronavirus in 2023. My brain was absolutely goo. I wanted to read, but I didn't have any wherewithal to be able to like actually think while I was reading. And I got into smut that way. And I read Morning Glory Milking Farm, and it was amazing and lovely and fantastic. And I had the best time, even though it was the most chaotic situation of my life. So that is how that went. And now I just read smut because it's so fun. It's so fun, and it's really colored everything in my life. Like I love being a smutty queen because now when I go to the gym, everything is a little bit of a sex joke. It just is, because they're like grunting and they're like bent over and they're just trying, and it's just funny to me. I'm not objectifying them, trust me. I'm not objectifying the brads grunting as they lift their thighs so high into the air. But it's just funny because I'm a smutty girl, which is really just means like I'm a 12-year-old all over again, where everything could be something inappropriate. And then don't even get me started on the haunted houses. Do you know what I mean? Like once I got into smut, my life fundamentally changed because now I can chalk up really everything to a joke. And I think one of my greatest strengths as an individual is that any bad thing that happens, eventually I'm going to be able to make it into a joke. I mean, genuinely, you cannot give me something that I cannot lay upon a platter and say, funny, ha ha, he he. That's how I got through my religious trauma. That's how I survived through my childhood. Now I believe it's kind of my main quality that I bring to the table. All right. Because I'm not out here turning heads looking like a fine ass glass of wine. I'm not being disconcerting to myself. I just don't dress that way. I dress like I'm trying to bring goats home. I'm not dressing in a way. Do you know what I mean? It's how I'm clad. I'm clad like a layered up hobbit. But if you have turmoil sent your way, the way I'm going to be able to comfort you with a joke, and I know I will have your favorite tea on tap, I will, and I will have snacks in the house that you can have. Now, do not ask me for advice. Do not ask me for advice, especially when it comes to situationships, because I'm like, I don't know what to say to you that's going to make you feel better, but I can knit you a scarf and I can tell you a joke and then maybe make you laugh hard enough that we're going to figure it out together. Do you know what I mean? So smut really leans into that for me, I would say, because smut makes everything dirty and I make everything funny. And so if smut were a person, we would be married by now because we can laugh together, and laughing together, well, that's what matters in the end, folks. And I put a putting cigar in my mouth, and I lean back and I go, all right, old sport, what other advice do you need? Because this is an advice column. Did you know I'm a Virgo who's divorced, who's been through, I don't know, 6 breakups in the last few years, and some of them were with the same people over and over again. And I'm out here giving advice. Did I do that right? I've not seen that movie and I refuse to. I watched it on Broadway and I was like, wow, I don't care. All right. If you could wipe your memory and read one book again for the first time, what would it be? It would be Little Paris Bookshop by Nina George. Shut up. Everybody shut the fuck up. I'm sick of people not knowing who this author is. I'm sick of people not reading this book. I'm sick of when I do mention it, they're like, oh, it's too quiet for me. It was too slow. Nothing really happened. Nothing's supposed to happen. He runs a literary apothecary and he's trying to go on a change of heart journey in his 50s. Oh my God. It is one of the most beautiful books I've ever read. It's how I feel about life. Nina George encapsulates the magic of mundane. You know, the moment when you look outside and maybe you live in a small town or you've gone on a walk before, you've been in a big town before, and you wake up and there's bakeries open and the warm light is flooding out into the streets, and it's that pocket of day where nothing really matters and the entire day is about to start, but the night is not quite over, and it's just that pocket of magic right there, right then, when the bakery light floods in, and it's just everything is kinesthetic and there's hope and nothing bad has happened yet. It's just that moment. That's how that author makes me feel. I've read all of her books. I love that bitch. I'm meant to go to the south of France because all of her books are set in the south of France that I've read. I need to go to there. I need someone to take me to Marseille because I think I must have a soul connection, some soul geography, or maybe I'm just, I don't know, my last name's England. Catch summer England and France in autumn. Do you know what I'm saying? So that is my favorite book. I would read it over and over and over and over and over again. I'm in love with it. I am in love with it. And it actually started me on a rant last week because I posted a TikTok and an Instagram where we have to stop sleeping on 3.75 on Goodreads. People give 4 and 5 star ratings to books that they just sort of like, just so their people aren't like scrolling past and be like, well, I'm not going to read this because it doesn't have 4 stars. 4 stars is a life-changing book. What are you guys talking about? I hate it. And I extra hate when I recommend a book to somebody and it's one of my favorite books of all time. And they're like, oh, it's only 3.5 on Goodreads. Bitch, that's good. Again, I will say it again. What if we did that with food? Oh, that mac and cheese only has 2 stars online. It's Kraft mac and cheese. It's ravioli. It's SpaghettiOs. We're not in this for a good time. We're in it for a long time. You all are so annoying. I don't really feed into the like, we have an epidemic of people who don't know how to like critically think while they're reading, because I feel like it really is just coming for people. Honestly, a lot of the discourse around it is people just absolutely tearing apart romance and romantasy readers, and they think that they're like some highbrow book talker because they're like, people don't think critically. I don't believe in that shit. I think that is directly corrosive and extremely elitist of a lot of book talkers, and a lot of them engage in that. Not everybody has to think. However, I really dislike it when a reader goes to a book and based on somebody else's opinion and rating, they decide whether or not it is worth their time because they don't know. You don't know. What do you mean? You don't know. Because I promise you that your favorite book in the world is somebody else's least favorite book. What if their rating, what if you had never read that book? What if I went online when I found the Little Paris Bookshop in the most charming bookshop in Kennebunkport, Maine, years and years ago on a honeymoon that I was so sad on because I realized that I just signed away my life and I will never be happy again. And I went to a bookshelf, and on top of the bookshelf it said books that charmed me right out of my seat, and it was curated by the bookshop owner herself, and it felt like a lighthouse. And what if I had gone onto Goodreads and thought to myself, I'm not going to pick that book up because it has a 3.5. Then I would have missed out on a life-changing book. Some very fun books that I've read are only 2 stars, and that's okay. I have read books that I've given 2 stars, and it's not because I didn't enjoy it. It's just a 2-star book. It didn't change my life. The writing was mid, but I enjoyed it. It feels like Hallmark to me. I'm not out here being like, Hallmark better be in the run for an Oscar. It's a Hallmark movie. Y'all. Now, how the hell did I get there? How the hell did... Oh, if you could wipe your memory and read one book again for the first time, what would it be? It's going to be The Little Paris Bookshop by Nina George. I don't want to know what you think about it unless you liked it. Because sometimes obviously when you put yourself out on the internet, as I do, I'm of the belief that people are going to have things to say, okay? They're going to be in your comment sections, and I am the one consenting to that because I am putting myself in front of hundreds of thousands of people, sometimes millions. Little Paris Bookshop, I don't need you to tell me you didn't like it. After I have told you this is my favorite book on earth, I don't need you. This is the one thing. This is my one thing that I'm petty about on social media. If I just said this is my favorite book, I do not need you, Jenny, to be like, I didn't like it at all. I actually DNF'd it. Shut the fuck up, dude. I don't care. Whatever. I didn't want you to read it anyways. We're not friends anymore. Why'd you do that? Why? It's just such a... Quit hating on people's favorite stuff, unless their favorite stuff is being evil, at which point, hate on them, okay? Favorite movie, favorite fantasy book, favorite drink. Favorite movie, Ratatouille. Favorite fantasy book, Lord of the Rings. Favorite drink, I love, with my whole heart, a decaf oat milk vanilla latte with, oat milk, I said it, extra sweet. I love that shit. I could die on that shit. And why decaf, you may ask? Because I am at the point in my 20s, 29, my last year of 29. I am at the point in my 20s where if I drink a latte, kind of anytime after 10 a.m., I'm up the rest of the day into the next day in a very significant way. I am up, I'm at 'em, and I'm having anxiety. But a decaf, I can slurp the juice however much I want. Speaking of slurp the juice, I went to Croatia over the summer, and I said slurp the juice, and our tour guide, Vlad, the love of my life, he was so sweet. He was teaching us words, and I was like, what does slurp the juice mean? It's prsući sok. If there's any Croatian speakers and I completely butchered that, I'm sorry. But he said it, prsući sok. And then for the rest of our time in Croatia, we would cheers, prsući sok. And Croatians around us were like, slurp the juice. What are you talking about? So anyways, that's my favorite drink. Slurp the juice, prsući sok. All right, spread it to your friends. Now we're getting into not necessarily bookish, but life and chaos. Do you co-parent with your ex-spouse? And how do you navigate? I do co-parent with my ex-spouse. We live in the same town, same state, which is good. It is 50-50, and that is what I wanted in the custody. He wanted not that, which is whatever. Anyhow, that's neither here nor there. The point of it is that it is difficult to navigate. I do not have it as hard as some people. I know that some co-parenting relationships are extremely fraught and yelly and mean and all of that. This is not that. It comes down to I am not a Christian. If anything, I'm not necessarily an atheist because I do believe in, I would say I'm more spiritual now, but I am not Church of Christ. No, nay. And that's a big rift because inherently that's going to inform parenting. But I come at co-parenting because I think one of my big hangups for the first few years was my kid was going to have a divided life and he was going to have two parents that thought so differently about things and how is that going to affect him? And anything I do is going to affect him. And I needed to reframe it in a way that at the end of the day, my kid is going to get two different views on life that will hopefully inform his moral compass, but not decide it for him. And that is that. And I can't control every single outcome. And when I was in that mode, especially when he was smaller and when it was really fraught because the big contention was that there was anger that I had a career, which is classic in fundamentalism. And that while I didn't believe that in my mind, those words still got to my heart, that I was a lesser mother, that I was a bad mother. And I felt soul-crushing guilt every single night my kid was with me, and definitely when he was not with me, because I couldn't let go of these things that I grew up hearing. And then near the end of my marriage, what was being told to me by the person who I had this child with. And out of all the things that people could say, the most damaging thing in the world was saying that because I have chosen a life where I'm going to work and I have passions and I have these things that I want to do with my life, that it made me a lesser mom and therefore less to my kid. And I remember staring at him when he would be asleep, and I was just so, oh God, I was so sad and heartbroken every single day. And it really stole a lot of joy, I would say, from the age of 2 years old to somewhere in between him turning 4, because I always felt like I was a terrible mom. And I went to therapy and I did all of this stuff and my therapist was like, quantity time does not equate to quality. There are plenty of stay-at-home parents who are terrible parents, and that's okay. And if I were talking to anybody else in the world, if somebody asked me, can you have a career and be a mom? I would be like, bitch, why are you even asking that question? Yes. Don't you want your kids to grow up and think to themselves, my mom chose what she wanted to do and she loved me? And even if you stay at home, again, if that's your choice, my mom chose what she wanted to do and she loved me. That's going to look different for every single person. But I would say the hardest part of co-parenting and navigating all of that was there is, for me, and I'm assuming many other mothers feel this way, specifically mothers, this societal pressure that you need to be there always and forever physically present, especially when kids are younger. And the more I was physically there, the less there my soul was, because I was not getting outside fulfillment. But I had been coming from a marriage that said, because you need outside fulfillment, because you have these other passions, you are less. You are a lesser mom. And that was the hardest. That was very difficult. So it wasn't as much navigating the co-parenting relationship as it was navigating my own guilt, that I felt directly responsible for putting my child in a situation where co-parenting was necessitated. But at the end of the day, I would never take back that decision in a million years, because I am so happy, and I hope that, one day my kid grows up, and of course there's going to be like, oh, I wish my parents lived together because I miss one of them when I'm at the others. But I hope that he grows up and knows that you can always step away from something that you no longer want to be in anymore, and know that that's okay. You can take steps for yourself. It's not selfish to want and to need and to hope and to dream. And the people that tell you that it is a slippery slope. It is a slippery slope. So co-parenting's hard. This is a little bit sad, so buckle up. When we first started the co-parenting, I had an apartment that was literally right down the hill from where my kid was at with his dad. And when I would really miss him, oh, this is so sad. When I would really miss him, I would walk up the street and I would go past the house to see his window. Oh, wait, I'm crying. I would see his window and I would see his like little nightlight. And I would just hope that, he was only 2, but I would hope that he could feel that I was out there. And I'd just go and make sure he was okay. But, those things stay with you. And it's very hard, but just because it's hard doesn't mean it's not worth it. And it felt like the wrong thing for a long time because of what people had said to me, until it felt like the only thing that could have ever happened. And now I'm in my house and I'm an author and an actor and my kid is happy. And while those memories are hard, there's also a part of me that treasures them, like a messed up piece of quilt when I was learning how to quilt. And I think that that's good. I suppose a lot of things in life, I'm glad I have regrets and I'm glad I have heartbreak because it meant that I took a chance. And I'd much rather do that. Okay, what the fuck was all that from? Jesus Christ, I really went in. What's my favorite music to listen to while I'm reading? Well, it kind of depends on the book because I'm reading God of the Woods right now, which is a thriller, and I've been listening to the album of whatever, Haunted on Hill House. I don't know the actual title of it. I will never watch that show. But anything instrumental is really nice. But sometimes I've been listening to also Nico Case's new album while I read Allie Hazelwood, and it's just lo-fi enough that Nico Case it feels like I'm in a very aesthetic coffee shop while I'm reading the romance novel, but it kind of just depends on what I'm reading. I definitely don't like to read in silence. I don't like to be in silence at all. If you can't tell, my brain is always whirring 1,000 miles per minute. And so I really need outside stimuli to sort of cancel my inside stimuli. I don't know. What is that? I need audible version of Ritalin or whatever that ADHD medication is. So that's my favorite music. And I also really like ambient worlds where I'll go on and I'll listen to like Rainy Day at Hogwarts or, Nighttime at the Green Dragon or whatever type of fantasy world where it's just enough music that I'm familiar with that I'm not distracted by its newness and it's got nature sounds in it. And that's what I usually write to. You get a sekaid, I don't know what that word is, to a romantasy world and you need to take up arms. What do you pick? A sword. I want a sword. I want to unsheath that sword and then the metallic sort of, well, that sounded like a cat. You get it. The metal whirring of a sword being unsheathed by somebody who knows how to wield it. Come on. All right. Do you or will you have any pets? I'm not an inside animal person. I'm definitely not a dog person. And I like other people's cats, but litter boxes make me want to crawl into a hole. So I don't know. I mean, my kid desperately wants a dog, and I think that he would be a really good dog dad. I just travel so much and I will travel more, and I'm a full-time actor or go in between being full-time and then also am an author, and I don't know. I just am not. So fun fact is that growing up, we lived in a very tiny house. There were many of us in there, and my parents always had sometimes we would have 8 animals at a time, and the smell and the hair was extremely overstimulating. So I think I have just enough childhood trauma and just enough autism that a dog or a cat, oof, no. I feel about people's dogs how most people feel about kids. Of like, well, I like them when they're here, but I definitely want to give them back to their parents, because never once have I ever enjoyed a full hangout with a dog. Usually around minute 20, I'm like, literally get some fucking standards. Why don't you? Why do you just love me? You just met me. And I love a cat, but then it goes and shits and it smells up the whole house. And I walk in and I smell litter boxes. No, that's not for me. And I'm not bending down to scoop up your piss and poo. So honestly, I just talked myself out of even theoretically considering having a pet in my whimsy house. No, because as soon as you poop on my carpet, we're going to have some issues. We are. I'm sorry. We are. It's just a no for me. All right, now we're getting into health stuff. Are you nervous about mammogram side effects? So for those of you who don't know, I found out over the summer that I am high risk for cancer, and then I had an MRI done and found out that I have this really lovely type of tissue where it's a double whammy, that it's dense to the point where they could catch something late, and also it's the type of tissue that puts you in a higher risk category. So now I'm going to get MRIs and mammograms every year for the rest of ever. And a lot of people have been like, well, you're being exposed to radiation that also puts up your breast cancer risk. Bitch, I'm trying the best I fucking can. Okay? Do not send me your science articles about it. I do not want to read them. I have a team of doctors, an entire panel. I have 5 doctors dedicated to my body wanting to get cancer. I do not need your WebMD article. I do not want it. Thank you, but no. I have enough data going on in my head. Now, all that being said, the next time I go in, I'm going to be like, hey, Queen, so what if I got a mastectomy instead of doing all of this? Because at the end of the day, I'm going to be getting MRIs for the rest of my life. I'm getting mammograms for the rest of my life. We've already decided that with my family history, I'm in high risk, and with this tissue, I'm in extra high risk. I don't have the dangerous gene. I have a different type of gene mutation. We're still waiting to hear back on if that puts me in an even higher risk or if it's just like unclassified, I'm a mutant. Anyhow, so with my family history and with the fact that I've gotten radiation to my chest before the age of 30, can we just lop these puppies off and call it a day? Is that, I know I'll lose nipple stimulation and it's a whole thing, but like, this is really inconvenient to keep coming back here. It cuts my risk by 95%. Well, can you just lop them off? I'll have tiny titties. I don't fucking care. Give them to me, please. You know the gender euphoria I will feel having tiny titties? All right, because I'm sitting at 36C right now. I don't need all that. I don't. I garden. I run. I don't run. I walk briskly. I don't need anything else. Give me some 32As. Hell, give me some non-cancerous 32As. So next time, I'm not going to go and see the lead doctor until next year, but in between then I'll have more scans and stuff. And by that time, I'll be 30, and I'm just going to be like, look, I don't have a lot of time in my year because I'm like traveling and stuff. Just take them off. Let's just do this. Let's just, what are we, let's call a spade a spade. Is that what it is? Because sometimes I say an ace and I don't know if that's the correct thing. Anyhow, so am I nervous about the side effects from mammograms and MRIs? No, I'm way more nervous about the fact that my body has like a huge chance of being like, you know, these cells, we're going to make them cancerous. That's what I'm nervous about. So anyhow, where are all my cute PJs from? TJ Maxx. I love to go into TJ Maxx. I love to get personally victimized by TJ Maxx because I go in there because sometimes they have like food alternative things because I have a bunch of food allergies. They have food alternatives that I can have there, like this really specific gum because I can't have gum with gluten or soy in it. And before you're like, gum doesn't have that. Find me a pack of normal gum that doesn't say soy lectin somewhere in it. Thank you. You won't be able to. All right? Or some type of soybean oil. Now, I'll go in there and then I see these cute PJ sets and I'm like, I need those. Because before I used to just wear t-shirts and shorts to bed. And then I realized, why not just make them match? Why not start and end your day with whimsy? Summer. Come on. You know what game we're playing. Shut up, girl. You know. You literally know. Okay? Okay. So that's the end of the Q&A session. Honestly, I apologize for getting a little bit emotional there. I don't know what to tell you, just came up. I definitely didn't premeditate getting emotional. I think that would be embarrassing. So what am I reading, writing, listening to right now in the news that doesn't matter? I've been doing a lot of journaling for reasons I can't disclose. I am noodling on other stories right now. And there's one I started, which is in my Shakespeare triad of books that I'm working on. And I'm still working on my romance novel about 2 Shakespeare professors vying for the same tenure track position. But I started this new one, and I don't know. I think it's also good. It takes place in the same universe too. Oh my God. Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm glad to like the stories that I'm writing. And I also am working on my Wild West meets the Mummy. But I feel very strongly, I'm in the first chapter right now. I'm still noodling with it. I feel very strongly that even though that one is on a deadline and I need to get that to my editors around February and March, and I do have acting contracts coming up, that's definitely going to mitigate my time to be able to dedicate to writing. I have to finish my romance novel. I feel it so strongly. I want to finish that. I want to start the other one, and then I will be ready. Because if I jump in to my Wild West Meets the Mummy one right now, all I'm going to be doing is cheating on it with this other one. So I need to finish the other one. What am I listening to? I'm listening to a shit ton of John Prine. In Spite of Ourselves is a song that makes me cry, and I've been listening to it over and over and over again. I've been listening to Nico Case, the Beths, and ambient worlds, okay? And what am I reading? God of the Woods and Cruel Winter with You. Those are my big reads. In children's books literature, I forgot to go upstairs and get my kiddos' books. However, I recommended a bunch of books last week, and I would suggest going back to there because there are some real winners in there. If I do say so myself, oh, you know what? I take that back. There is a book, I don't know the author, and I'm not going to Google it right now. It's called Goodnight Brooklyn, and it just takes you through saying goodnight to these different places in Brooklyn. And we got it while we were in Brooklyn, and my kid loves that book, and it's just cozy and sweet. And anything with New York, I don't know what it is. I mean, my kid loves it too. Anything that features New York, we're both like, honestly, why is this so good? So that's on that. I hope you all have a wonderful day. I really enjoyed doing this podcast. I really enjoy talking to you all. I love seeing your comments. It has been such a sweet little place to land in the week. And I love all of the things that it's like I've had my friends on here. And it's fun, you all getting to meet them, even though you don't get to know their real names because they're characters, all right? We're going with like hot priest from Fleabag type of situations when people are on. And anyhow, I guess I'm just going to, because I got mushy in the middle of it, I'll get mushy at the end. Thank you so much for your support and all of that. And please rate and review. It helps us on the podcast platforms. Also, I'm going to Ireland next fall in the autumn. You can sign up for that. Also, pre-order my book, The Impossible Garden of Clara Thorne. Okay? It is for the people who don't know how to let themselves be loved. Best of luck. It's hard as shit. And it's also sapphic. And there is some spice in there. And you'll know way more about me after reading that spice than you should. Okay. All right. Stay cozy. Stay chaotic. Bye.